In this lesson, we will cover recognizing hosted and non-hosted sprinklers, placing sprinklers at the correct location, and modifying the symbol used for sprinklers. In this model, fire protection sprinklers have not been placed. We're currently looking at a reflected ceiling plan view so that we can see the ceiling grid from the architectural model. To place sprinklers, on the Systems ribbon, in the Plumbing and Piping panel, click Sprinkler. This activates the Sprinkler tool, and the first thing you should do is select the appropriate type to place from the type selector. In this project, there are both hosted and non-hosted sprinklers. Some people prefer to use hosted sprinklers, while others prefer to use non-hosted. We'll take a look at the differences. To begin, I'll select one of the dry, pendant, fully recessed, hosted sprinkler types. When I do, you can see that a placement panel appears in the contextual ribbon. This indicates that this family type was created using a face-based template. So when Place on Vertical Face is selected, you can place a sprinkler in a wall, and when Place on Face is selected, you can place it in a ceiling. Or if there were not ceilings, you could select Place on Work Plane and then select the appropriate work plane to place sprinklers on. I'll hover over this ceiling and click to place a sprinkler in that ceiling. Now, the issue that some people have with hosted components is that if this ceiling in the architectural model is removed, this sprinkler then becomes an orphaned component in the host model. Even if the architect comes back and adds a ceiling of the same type in the exact same location, it's still an orphaned component, and it will have to be rehosted. I'll expand the type selector and then scroll down and find a non-hosted component. When I do, you can see that the placement panel does not appear in the contextual ribbon, and in the Properties palette there is a level parameter and an elevation from level, along with the host and offset from host. So even though it's a non-hosted component, it will still have a host, and we can take a look at the differences here. I don't know the exact ceiling height, but we'll start with 9 feet and see where that gets us. But when I change it to 9 feet, you can then see the sprinkler attached to the cursor, because that means it's now in the view range. And so you can click anywhere at this point. It can be in the ceiling, outside of the building, anywhere, because it is a non-hosted component. So when I click to place it, and then I'll click Modify to end the command. And now we'll take a quick look at the differences in each one. So with the hosted component, you can see that it has a schedule level parameter, and then an elevation from level and host. And the elevation from level and host parameters are grayed out. They cannot be modified because it's a hosted component, so it's being controlled by the host. When I select the non-hosted component, once again we see the level and elevation from level, and then we see a host parameter, which in this case is the level, and then an offset from host. And we can move this sprinkler up or down using either the elevation from level or the offset from host. Let's take a quick look at a section view. We'll create a section view here, and we can see where our sprinklers are. So I'll zoom in, and you can see that the hosted one, that's the nice thing about host, is you don't have to know the exact elevation. You can simply just click in the ceiling and it'll place it there, and we're at 8 feet 4 inches. And so this one right here, we can do the same thing if we want to have it at the same elevation. And now we have them placed in the ceiling. So depending on your preferences, you can use either hosted or non-hosted sprinklers. Continuing on with our discussion on sprinklers, one thing that a parameter that they have is the symbol parameter. And so this is for both the hosted and non-hosted. They have this symbol parameter. And in this case, this is a dry pendant fully recessed. And if I want to, I can change the type. I can change it to a pendant on drop. I can change it to add a guard. I can change the type to whatever type I want. In some cases, you may not want to change the type. Maybe you just need to change the symbol. And so in that case, if I expand the symbol drop down here, then I can change the symbol without actually changing the type. And so in some cases, that may be the appropriate thing to do depending on your workflow. And so that's how you can place sprinklers and then change the symbol or change the type.